Welcome! You have just tuned in to Awakening the Gift with Psychic Medium Montana Greene, igniting a stream of consciousness within you. Are you ready to feel more comfortable talking about and trusting your own intuition? You can learn to embrace your own natural and subtle abilities. The possibilities are limitless. Hi, I'm Psychic Medium Montana Greene, and together we will look at all of life, yourself, and your fellow living beings through an expanded spiritual lens by examining spirituality, mysticism, and metaphysics. Stay tuned for insights into the human energy field, spiritual principles, and tools on how to care for and utilize these for the highest and greatest good of humanity. Awakening to our spiritual gifts has never been more on time. Awakening to the gift starts now. Hello, everyone. I am Montana Greene, and you are listening to Awakening the Gift on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us ignite a stream of consciousness in you. Each second and fourth Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, we will have insightful conversations about spirituality, higher consciousness, and all things metaphysical, helping to ignite a stream of consciousness in you. Today, I have very special guest, intuitive wellness coach, Victoria Roybal. Victoria is an intuitive coach and an energy healing facilitator that inspires others to tap into their inner strength, embrace growth, and thrive in life. She's a certified life coach, activation method coach, crystal healing coach, Reiki master, and chakra wisdom practitioner. She is most passionate about teaching her clients how to utilize mindfulness, meditation, and energy healing techniques to remove energy blockages, emotional baggage, and clear stuck energy to support the healing process to create the life that they truly desire. In this episode, we will explore the profound concept of true healing, far beyond the allure of instant fixes. So join us as we delve into the essential truth that real healing demands dedication and self-awareness. There is no magical cure to resolve all of our struggles overnight, and we will be discussing the importance of taking control of our own healing process. While those in the healing arts are absolutely here to guide and support, the true power for healing comes from within. Victoria, thank you so much for joining me today. I've been so excited to talk with you because I know that you are a wealth of information, both on a professional level, intellectual level, but also from your own life experiences. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I think you said a lot of it in that intro.
I tried to make you sound good.
It did sound really good. So yeah, I actually got into energy healing and mindfulness and meditation and things like that because I was looking for my own healing that I needed from my past childhood traumas and adult traumas that I had dealt with. And I just knew that there was more to just what I was hearing about out there at the time. And so I started looking into it and was lucky enough to find a holistic counselor that introduced me to some of the more, alternative mindfulness meditation practices. And that just kind of was that stepping stone to get me onto this path. And I found a lot of amazing moving forward, a lot of healing to be able to help me really move forward and break a lot of the patterns that I was continuing to repeat in my life. And so that just led me to want to learn more and more about it. And the more I learned about it, the more I wanted to share it and help others.
Such a common thing, right? Once we go through those dark night of the souls and we kind of unlock the mystery to why we keep repeating patterns, it's so common to want to share that, to want to do some good in the world. Can I ask you approximately how old were you when you started on this journey?
Oh my goodness, let me see. When I actually started on the mindfulness journey, my youngest was pretty, I mean, my youngest was pretty young. Let's see, he's 18 now. So he would have been about 2 or 3
Oh,
when I
yeah.
started. So that would have, oh my goodness, that would have been what, like 15 years
A
ago.
lot of years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm 47 now, so whatever the math is on
You
that.
look fantastic.
Thank you.
And I know you do a lot of great things in the world. So, just to give a little bit of context to this, I have had some crystal healing sessions with Victoria, and I have to tell you, they were amazing, amazing. When I first went into it, obviously I'm into this kind of thing. I collect crystals anyways. So I was pretty open, and yet I was absolutely blown away by how impactful the session really was. I thought it would feel really wonderful, and I had good expectations, but it far exceeded my expectations even after the session itself, and mostly in the form of understandings, little epiphanies that came to me about situations going on in my life. And again, self awareness. I think that it's important to know that the process of self awareness is constantly ongoing. You can figure out some things in your life, but trust me, next year, next decade, you're going to be right back at it, looking at what patterns am I repeating? What do I need to know about myself to change things? So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really, I always tell people that, the first step to finding that lasting change and the healing is to have that awareness. And
Absolutely.
if we're unaware of the patterns that we're repeating, then we have no way of changing them. We're just going to keep repeating them. So having that awareness of those patterns and being able to kind of figure out different tools and techniques and resources of how we can interrupt those patterns is how we're able
Yes.
to be able to move forward.
Yes, that's interesting. It's the pattern interruptions. That has been a phrase that has gone through my head so much here recently, not just for myself, but literally for humanity. I think in a lot of ways, we're kind of at a time where there's going to be a lot of jarring things that go on and the greater collective, whether it's wacky things on the news cycle, but all of these things, as disruptive as they are, they do serve a purpose. They serve a purpose of pattern change, of pattern disruption. So yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. It's something that we talk about a lot
mm,
with my clients and in my personal life is how I know it sounds cliche, but everything has a reason.
it does.
Like there really is a reason for the way everything happens, and there are those blessings in disguise that we felt like I was just talking with a client yesterday about how the tower card doesn't always mean that it's a bad thing, that
Amen,
sometimes the
sister.
tower means that everything has to kind of fall for the rebuilding to be able to happen, and sometimes that does happen in the healing process.
Oh, not just sometimes, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, most times.
Most times, most
Yeah.
times. And I do love that what you said too, that sometimes that tower card or those breakdown moments, they're not always bad. Sometimes they really are very beneficial things. And that doesn't mean that every time we have a moment like that, that it's full crisis in our lives.
Mhm.
You can have those breakdowns of structures. Graduating college, that's a breakdown of a structure right there too.
Mhm.
Leaving the family unit is another breakdown of that structure. Yeah. So I'm curious, in your childhood, were you at all interested in spirituality or higher consciousness back then? And I know you and I have talked a little bit. Childhood may not have been the most harmonious time in your life, but do you have any insights on any kind of leaning into spirituality during those times?
So in childhood, I grew up very much in the organized religion. So there was a lot of that was there. And so yeah, there was definitely the spirituality piece. But there was also some of the strictness and the rules, and so like intuition was not considered a good thing. That
Mm.
was considered a negative. So it was definitely there, but there was a lot of I have to squash that because I was being told that it was bad.
Uh-huh.
So, I kind of really squashed that. But then as I started getting into like my teenage years, that's when, I just kind of felt like this nagging, and I was like, there's got to be something a little bit different. And so as I continued getting older, I would kind of entertain, but there was still a lot of those blockages that was there from my upbringing. So yeah, I had to work through a lot of that as I was going through my own journey to be able to remove those blockages and really
Mhm.
allow myself, kind of like you said, coming into the session, you being really open. And so I just had to be really open to maybe there is something different from what I was being taught as I was growing up. And I really just kind of started being able to listen to my intuition much better at that point, because I was more open to it and
Mhm.
found that my intuition was guiding me
Right.
way better than, some of the logical, ways that I was taught as I was growing up. So it was there, but it was also being squashed.
Yeah. And it's such a common thing, too. It's such a common thing to have to squash that intuitive side of ourselves, especially in the formative years when all the authority figures around us are more or less giving the message of don't listen to that part in you, listen to us, whether it's organized religion or even well-intended parents. So was that much of a struggle to be able to reignite your connection to your own intuition?
It was initially because, I was really kind of like fighting against it, because I was like, well, I was taught that's bad, that's not a voice I should listen to, and that it's going to steer me in the wrong direction, that it's coming from, evil spirits trying to guide me in the wrong way. And so, there was a little bit of, me kind of fighting, really like
Mhm.
listening to that. But I think that's why affirmations and meditation was a really good stepping stone for me, to be able to actually get into that a little bit more, because it wasn't me necessarily listening to the intuition. It was me kind of like doing the incantations and just sitting and focusing on my breathing. And then I would
Mhm.
notice that as I was focusing on my breathing, that I would start having these different thoughts and insights. And then I was like, wait a minute, like I've been trying to figure out how to handle that situation. And all of a sudden it just came to me, and the
And it
answer
just
is so
pops
obvious.
in,
Yes.
right?
And that's when I kind of started to understand, like, oh my goodness, like this is really not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And then I was able to kind of start breaking down those blocks
Yeah.
to be able to
Yeah.
listen more.
And
So
it is
there
such
was
a
a little
helpful
struggle.
thing. Yeah. But it does require calming down the mind, kind of distancing ourselves from all the chatter and distractions out in the world there. Well, on that thought, we do need to take a break. So, you were listening to Awakening the Gift with me, Psychic Medium Montana Greene, and my very special guest, Victoria Roybal, Intuitive Wellness Coach. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to explore more on the topic of tuning into the own inner voice and how we can really achieve true healing. So, stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on Awakening the Gift with me, Psychic Medium Montana Greene. My guest today is Victoria Roybal, Intuitive Wellness Coach, here to share her wisdom on doing the work for true healing. But before we continue, Victoria, I want to make sure that our listeners know how to contact you. Would you mind sharing how they can reach you?
So some of the best ways is definitely on Facebook, and just, search for Intuitive Wellness with Victoria, and I'll pop up. And then also at my website, which is victoriaroybal.com. And then you can hop on there and subscribe to my newsletter and see some of the offers that I have available right now.
Fantastic. Great. And if anybody wants to reach out to me, you can do so at my website, which is whisperingleafpsychic.com. All right. So we're talking about what's needed for true healing, well beyond the magical cures and magical thinking. So on our little break, Victoria and I were talking about the tools that we have to make change in our life, such as crystals and energy healing and things along those lines. But those are simply tools. Would you agree, Victoria?
Yes, absolutely. It's It's a tool just like when we go to the doctor and we find out that we have an infection or something, and then they give us an antibiotic to be able to help us clear it up. But then we can also go home, and then there's other things that we can do, like getting rest and doing ice and heat and, drinking lots of water and staying hydrated. So having all of the different tools to be able to do the best for our healing process. And so that's
Absolutely.
the same with energy healing as well.
Absolutely. And it really is a process that involves, it's multi-pronged for certain. So,
Right.
as I was saying on break, I recently, and I thought of you and I thought of this show. I'm like, I have to share this story with Victoria because she would definitely get it. But I had a lovely, lovely client, just a beautiful woman who was encountering some health issues. And she was really hoping for just a quick little reference for a stone. So the question was, what's a good stone for just overall healing? And I had to lovingly say to her, a healthy lifestyle. So, I mean, there are stones. And Victoria, you do have a lot of experience with crystal healing. Again, I've had sessions with you, they were phenomenal. But if somebody was interested in physical health, what crystals would you recommend?
So I honestly, especially if we're talking about overall health, like your client was asking, is that I would definitely recommend working with fluorite.
I love that stone.
Because fluorite is, yeah, and it's a beautiful stone. It has a lot of energy that it kind of brings in to be able to help the cells resonate with a healthier, higher frequency. And it kind of hits overall on the physical and energetic and spiritual bodies that we have. So I would definitely, suggest fluorite, but in addition to that, I would also suggest to make sure that they're paying attention to other things like,
Mhm.
paying attention to their diet and exercise and making sure that they're staying very well hydrated, as well as doing the things that we need to be doing that are suggested by our other healthcare professionals that are working
Mhm.
with us on some of the health issues we're dealing with.
And that brings up a very good point. Everything that is holistic is complementary. So
Yes.
do not go to a holistic practitioner and assume that you can ditch the doctor or other helpful people in their fields.
Absolutely. I am 3 weeks post-op from having my gallbladder removed. And obviously I used complementary and, alternative things to be able to help me get through that because there was a lot of pain, a lot of inflammation that I was dealing
Mhm.
with before it was removed. And then even after, I used crystals and stones to be able to give me that added energy for the health and everything, but I still had to eat the right foods. I still had to make sure I stayed hydrated. I had to listen to the recommendations from my doctor for not overlifting and things like that.
Mhm.
There's no stone out there that I could just go to and it would have fixed my gallbladder problems.
You're
Like,
right.
but it was a complementary
Uh-huh.
addition to being able to help me
Yeah.
with that. And the healing has been absolutely amazing. I've had no complications at
That's the
all.
thing, is the no
So,
complications and kind of speeding up that healing process.
right, right.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you're doing well after that. You look like you are. You look like you're smiling and
Oh
still
yeah, I
feeling
feel
good in the
great.
body.
Yeah.
Good, good, good. Let's talk about some of the other things that you help your clients with in terms of self-awareness to recognize patterns in their lives. Can you share any stories about that?
So, one of the things that I help my clients a lot with is first of all becoming aware because sometimes when
Yes.
we're in the middle of it and we're the ones that's kind of like in that storm, so to
It's
speak,
hard to have
it's
neutrality in
it is
situations
it's
like
really
that.
hard to actually be able to see. And so it's really easy to be like, but ABC, so I can't XYZ. So what I'm able to do is, kind of really be able to help them just, look at it from a different perspective and be able to kind of see it from a more outside point of view. And of course, I do that through, multiple ways. We can do brainstorming, there's meditation, there's a lot of different exercises and techniques that, we can do through visualization and things like that to be able to really just kind of calm the mind and
Mhm.
be able to kind of calm that storm that is going on within us. And of course, I use crystals to aid in that as well.
Yes, of course. And they do definitely work. So you're talking about a lot of creative kind of solution finding as well as mindfulness. So have you had ease in teaching people mindfulness? Which
Um,
I am a huge proponent of mindfulness. I did a 1 week silent meditation at a Buddhist temple up by Red Feathers. So you probably are aware of that general area.
yes.
And mindfulness was the entire focus. And I just cannot convey enough about how incredibly helpful that is in helping to solve your own problems. Just give a different perspective to get you out of the storm.
Yes. So I do. That's one of the biggest things that I actually work with my clients is actually kind of teaching them the ways that they can utilize the tools and the techniques of mindfulness to be able to use it in their everyday life.
Yes.
Because the majority of the work does not happen in the office. Like you were even saying, it was after the session that you were like, oh, there was this, like, yes, the session was great and it brought a lot for you, but once you stepped out, there was still all of this that was going on.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's most important because that the work is happening outside of the sessions. The sessions is just planting the seed, and then
Right.
all of the blooming is going to happen outside of the sessions. So it's really important for them to have the tools and the resources to be able to do that. And since I have been doing that, because I've been pretty much just working one-on-one, I did start, I think it was about a year and a half ago that I started doing a meditation circle. So I can
Yes.
start working with more people to just bring them a meditation, but also be able to kind of guide them on how they can take what they're learning in the meditation circles and be able to still utilize that at home. And
Mhm.
I do have a new offer that is going to be announced on August 8th that I'm going to be
Great.
offering. It's an online offer that will be open to anybody. That is going to be right along this line of teaching the mindfulness and meditation and being able to just be able to find that awareness and calm that storm.
What a perfect time to launch that too on the Lionsgate. That's it's so much potential for making those pattern shifts. And I love that you're doing those things in a group dynamic because when people come together, one-on-one is fantastic too. But when people come together in group, they synergize their energy, they
Mhm.
focus in intention, and it really does make a very big difference. Plus, I think that being a part of a community also really helps healing.
Yes.
Oftentimes, it's been my experience that people really feel like what they're going through, they're the only ones to ever go through it. And they kind of lose that perspective that the things that they struggle with are very common. Other people struggle with them too. So sometimes it helps to normalize the situation.
Absolutely. That's one thing that I actually talk about a lot with my one-on-one clients when they come in is they're like, nobody understands. And I'm like, well, would you be surprised to find out that, I
Hmm.
have experienced this or I have other clients that are going through the exact same thing right now. And you always just see them kind of be like, oh, like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I never really thought that like I'm really not alone. And so I do agree with you that the community piece is really important. So that's one of the things that I know that my in-person meditation circle attendees are really valuing the most is just that community aspect because
Yeah.
they are becoming connected outside of the meditation circle, which I love because I really wanted to be able to build community.
Right.
And so even with this new offer, there's gonna be a community component that is also going to be along with that because community is really important for us to know that
Especially
we're not
now.
alone.
Uh-huh.
Right. Because when
Yeah.
I was going through my healing process, I felt very, very alone.
Right.
And because of the upbringing that I had, I was alone when it came to family. So I didn't have a whole lot of support. And so when I did go into this work, that was one of my biggest goals was to make sure that is within my control. If I know somebody is struggling, I want them to know that they're not alone and that they do have somebody that they can turn to for support.
Yes. And somebody that can relate to what they're going through.
Hmm.
So often people want lives that are just rainbows and butterflies and no challenges, but those challenges really do help us become a helper to other people.
Absolutely. Not to mention the lessons that we do learn
Uh-huh.
from it. And sometimes they're forced lessons and sometimes they're
Yes.
lessons that we need. So, there's a lot of good that can really honestly come out of struggles. And so a life of, like you said, rainbows and butterflies it's just not realistic. It's not going to be there, even being at your most zen that you can be with, the clearest of minds, there's still going to be problems that are going to pop up that you're going to have to know how to navigate, and being able to navigate from a space of clarity is going
Mhm.
to help that process much more than being in high stress and all that chaos and just reacting.
Yes, yes. And that's where calming down the nervous system through mindfulness, through meditation, through other self-soothing techniques and methods can be so helpful to people. Because just like what you said, there's always going to be storms in life. You can be the greatest person and have everything working out. And I guarantee you, something will go wrong at some point and you're going to have to deal with it. So it's
Right.
good to have those tools in your toolbox, and again, community to help with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And, when we're practicing with the tools that we have in our toolbox on a semi-regular basis, then when we really do need them, it's just old hat to fall right into it and
Mm-hmm.
utilize those tools. But if we have the tools, and so this is where I kind of tell people, like, you can have all the knowledge, but if you're not putting it into practice, then, that knowledge may falter for
Mm-hmm.
you and won't end up coming through because we're not in the practice of utilizing it. So that
Right.
conflict comes along, you haven't been practicing it, and you forget because you're stuck in this thickness in this storm.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have been practicing those though, with those tools, then you're able to just kind of go, oh wait, I've got this tool to be able to help me with this situation, this conflict.
Yes, I've practiced calming myself down or practice tuning in. It's
Yes.
interesting. Like I said, I did the silent retreat and it truly was. I was telling other people about my experience and it was very pivotal. It was fantastic and very challenging. But, anyways, so I was telling people about it and they were like, wow, so, I don't see how that would affect me. And I was saying, really, the benefit to mindfulness is not about inside the meditation. It's so that when you're driving to work, your mind is not racing off in 27 different scenarios. It's so that as you're laying in bed trying to fall asleep, your mind is not spiraling into everything that could happen and all the made up stories. Additionally, what you just said made me think back to my education in hypnotherapy. Now, I practice as a hypnotic coach, but when I was in school, we got to learn uh, hypnosis facilitated childbirth. And one of the biggest things for pain management, using hypnosis for pain management, is to actually practice those techniques, and it's self hypnosis, but practicing those techniques when you don't feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
So that the subconscious mind knows how to shift right into that little lane, right into that neuroplasticity circuit, so that you know how to calm yourself down and those pain receptors when things are calm. So again, it's a
Absolutely.
lot about practicing things when you're not in the middle of a crisis. It,
Right.
it goes back to that little phrase about chance favors a prepared mind.
Mm-hmm.
So being
Absolutely.
prepared and practicing those techniques when things are going well helps you out so much better when the storms come, because the storms will come.
They will. They will. And there's always a deeper level to be able to go in healing. So
Yes.
even though I've had, this healing journey, I am not where I was, but I still know that I have growth to do. And so
Mm-hmm.
it is continuous, it is ongoing because there's always, a deeper level that we're able to go in our healing and our growth. So it's important that when things are good, like you said, to make sure that we are continuing to practice.
Yes. Yes. And I love what you said too. It's such an important point to really drive home. Growth and healing is a process. It will not be one of those things where, okay, I meditated for a week straight and I stayed calm for a week. Okay, I'm all done. And even, you and I, we've shared lots of stories from our own lives, and of course your own clients can also
Hmm.
back this up. But as much healing as we do, it's like there's still another layer to go to. We are very complex creatures. Our minds are very complex. There's always another layer to get to. So, stay with that overall self-care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally. I can't agree more.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what is your favorite aspect to providing coaching sessions?
Oh my goodness, I would have to say that honestly, my favorite aspect is really the ahas, the insights that I see my clients have when they have those breakthroughs, and
Mhm.
and once they have the breakthrough, then you just see this rapid transformation that
Yes.
happens because they're like, "Oh my goodness, like that's all I have to do." And then they start doing it, and then you just start to see all of this improvement. And that's what really, that's why I do what I do. That's what really brings me the joy, and that's what keeps me going. I often say that if I only have one person that I'm helping, then it's worth me doing what I do,
Yes.
because that's one life that is being inspired and is able to transform because of what it is that I'm doing. So, yeah, I would have to say that is really honestly my favorite aspect. It's my why, it's what keeps me going. And then it's also twofold. So as I am helping others, there is just a level of healing that just continues to come back to me. And sometimes I'm working with a client and I will say something, and in the back of my mind, I'll be like, I need to remember that because I need that for.
The same thing happens to me all the time. It definitely is a mutual benefit type thing.
Yes.
You're helping others to have greater self awareness and to recognize patterns and to come up with solutions. And
Yeah.
sometimes that really great, meaningful advice can also be applied to our own lives.
Yeah.
It's
It
such a
holds me
fantastic
it makes me
gift.
hold myself accountable.
Uh-huh. Yes, yes, definitely. So we need to take a break, but when we come back, I want to get a little bit more into something you said earlier about the doing it. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what the doing it is. So you were listening to Awakening the Gift with me, Psychic Medium Montana Greene, and my very special guest, Victoria Roybal, intuitive wellness coach. And we're going to take a very quick break. But when we come back, we're going to get more into the actual doing of the work. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back, and thank you for tuning in to Awakening the Gift with me, Psychic Medium, and my very special guest, the beautiful and very lovely and talented Victoria Roybal, intuitive wellness coach, and she is sharing her wisdom on what it takes to actually make change in life. And again, Victoria, before we get going, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to contact you. Could you remind the listeners of how they can find you?
Yes, so I can be found on Facebook at Intuitive Wellness with Victoria, or also at my website, which is victoriaroybal.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. And you do have some exciting things that are coming up, and we will get to that. But first, let's go a little bit back into something you had mentioned earlier about the actual doing of the stuff. And we were talking a little bit on break, like what that really entails. So we've talked about using crystals and other things as tools, mindfulness to help us train our mind to calm down even when things aren't chaotic. But what do you mean by actually doing the work?
Okay, so of course we know that that first step is to become aware
Mhm.
and then be able to provide that pattern interrupts. So when we're going into our brainstorming or our visualizations, and we're quieting that mind, we start to get certain insights that is giving us the answers that it is that we need. And often it really does have to do with what needs to be done in order to get the results that it is that we want.
Mhm.
And so the third step is really taking action on that.
Yes.
So now you just got the insights. So what do I do with this insight? Well, follow what the insight said. So if it told you that You need to start having a more positive mindset. Well, then you need to come up with some action steps to be able to create a more positive mindset, such as maybe doing gratitude
Mhm.
daily, where maybe you sit down and jot down 3 things that you're grateful for every single day in order to change the pathways in your brain to not have the shortcut to the negative, but to have the shortcut to the positives and the blessings. So, just being able to really find the action steps. I like to call them soul assignments because
I
it
love
really is
it.
coming from our soul, and it's our soul that is saying this is what needs to be done. So it's just finding those different little action steps. But I also say to make sure that they are simple.
Mhm.
And simple
Mhm.
does not always equate to easy.
That
But
is so true.
but we want it to be more simple, because if we make it too complicated and complex, that's going to be the first thing that's going to go when
Right.
life hits and it's stress and overwhelming. So we want to make sure that it's, simple things that we're also being able to easily tie into things that we're already doing.
There you go.
So, affirmations is a really good one where, maybe we're trying to find a little bit more self-love for ourselves. So we can have some affirmations, and we can tie that in as we're brushing our teeth and putting on our makeup and stating our
Yes.
affirmations at the same time.
That's another thing that we do with hypnosis is you link whatever that anchor is to a daily activity that you're always doing. And so when I mean hypnotic anchor, it's when I brush my teeth, I recognize how much I deserve good care.
Right.
So that is one of those examples. So I'm curious, do you do much work with helping people to recognize their triggers? Let's say, for example, you have a client that's dealing with self-love, self-worth. So do you help them recognize when they fall into those repeated patterns of not showing self-love? Like, I spoke up in a meeting and nobody liked my idea, or, things like that. Do you go with
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
triggers?
Yeah, because that goes into really being able to kind of like identify those patterns.
Yes.
And so that's kind of another way of saying it is like, finding your triggers
And
is
then putting a
pattern.
game plan in place to when you
Exactly.
have those triggers so you can choose differently. There's so much
Right.
about choice, and our everyday choices, how we react to a situation and doing that consciously versus reacting, as you had said.
Right. Because
Yeah.
if we continue to continue the cycle, the pattern that we're already repeating, that's making the same choices, the same decisions that we're already making, which has us where we are, and that's not where
Mm-hmm.
we want to be. So, obviously, to interrupt that pattern, we're gonna have to make different choices and take different steps, different decisions in order to get us to a different place of where it is that we want to be. But knowing what it is that is getting us locked into that
Mm-hmm.
cycle and that pattern is really really important, and that's where a lot of the visualization and brainstorming often will come in, because I'm able to kind of go, oh, did you see what you did there? And they'll be like, oh my goodness, like you're
There
right.
it is.
And
You're right.
yes,
Yes.
and so it's really it's amazing how if we trick our brain into like a visualization, how we can see things so differently than
Mhm.
when we're really in the thick of it and seeing it from one point of view.
Right. So, hey, would you walk us through the chronological order of coaching sessions with you and just kind of like surmising it, obviously?
Well, my sessions are very, you know, client led. So the client lets me know what it is that they want to be able to work on that day.
As
And
well, it should be.
yes, exactly. I feel like, sometimes I've gone to practitioners and they're kind of going like, oh, this is, ABC, what we're gonna, and then I'm like, well, that's not really what I needed. Like, and then I walk away feeling like I didn't solve anything. So, yeah, so pretty much they come in and we start talking about what it is that they may be struggling with or having conflict with, or maybe want to clear, or something that they have just been feeling energetically. Sometimes it's just they're feeling really tired and depleted. So then that's when we'll just kind of discuss a little bit about trying to find out what, being aware, like I said, being aware of like what is actually really causing that. Is it
Hmm.
something work
Getting to the
related,
root.
or home related, situation related, or is it maybe just they were just around a lot of heavy energy and they need to clear it? And then that's when we will kind of start to talk about how we can, cause the interrupt and be able to clear that energy. And so of course that's going to look different. Sometimes it is energy clearing, and sometimes it's where we are just having a discussion, or maybe it goes into visualization. But there is always tools and resources that are sent home
I
to
was
be
just going to
working
ask it,
on.
the homework
Yes.
piece of it.
Yes, those soul assignments, they're important. So as they come up with their insights, then that's when we discuss the small, simple steps that they're able to do to work on at home in between our sessions, and in order to really start creating that change to, like you said, make the different decisions.
That's fantastic. It sounds like they gain a lot of benefit. And again, we've already talked about how we as practitioners also gain so much. So
Absolutely.
you've got some very exciting news coming up on the Lionsgate portal, 8/8, August 8th. Tell me about what you're launching there.
So it is a new offer that I am bringing. I'm being a little cryptic about it until I actually launch it, but it's a new offer for any wellness seekers, especially busy ones, because we often think that we don't have
Nobody's
the
busy
time.
these days.
Right. No one is. But we often, kind of go, oh, I don't have time for, A, B, and C. And often it's our self-care that is being neglected. And so I have developed an offer where there is, it's just tools and resources. It's this great toolbox. It's, you could even call it a treasure trove of tools and resources that people are going to be able to access to help them find that time for that self-care. So that way they can get that deep relaxation and really be able to find that inner strength and tap in to their inner guidance and insights to be able to help them be aware of their cycles and be able to make those different choices and decisions. And but it's also going to guide them in how they're able to um I just lost my train of thought.
Can I just say something? I love that you mentioned cycles, because all people go through cycles. We're going to have these times where we're rocking, we're right on top, and then we're going to have times where we're just not feeling good. And so, with some of what you're saying is not to judge ourselves when we go through those, and to kind of work with it a little bit.
Yes. Yes. And there will be the guidance and the support on how they can integrate. This is what I was going to say, on how they can integrate the insights that they are finding and receiving, and how to integrate that into their daily life to be able to practice on a regular basis. And it's gonna, there will be, guidance from me, and it's going to be a community aspect that's going to be there. So they'll have the guidance from the community of like-minded other individuals, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. So
that's fantastic. And you said there's also a Facebook group that goes with it to kind of strengthen those community ties, help each other reach out to one another.
Yes. Yeah. It's, so there's going to be, a membership place where people, can interact there and get tools and resources and things like that there. But then there's also going to be, a private Facebook group. So that way it's, very private, anonymous, and, allow for everybody to just be able to interact with each other and help each other and support each other.
So who is this open to?
To anyone. Anyone that is looking for a level of deeper self-care for themselves, to be able to just bring that quiet to their day, even if it's just for a few minutes a day. To
like
be able
carving
to find
out some time for it, prioritizing.
Yes. Yeah, really prioritizing.
Super important, very overlooked, but super important, making it part of your daily schedule.
Yes, it is. It is. So yeah, so be sure, because that will be all of the fun details will be announced on August 8th. And so make sure that you are following me on Facebook, because I'll be announcing there, but then also go to my website and subscribe to my email list, because I'll also sending emails regarding it as well.
Great. Can you go ahead and just share your Facebook contact information with us again and the name of your website, just so that the listeners can have that at top of mind?
Yes. So Facebook, you can find me at Intuitive Wellness with Victoria. And then my website is victoriaroybal.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Victoria, I want to thank you so much for being my guest today. As always, it is great to talk to you. I'm so excited about all of your new offerings because it sounds like it's really going to be of a benefit to people. So thank you so much for sharing all this information. And again, I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning into Awakening the Gift with me, Psychic Medium Montana Greene. As always, I appreciate your time and attention. And please join me every second and fourth Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time for more. Now, next time on Awakening the Gift, we will have an eye-opening conversation with a near-death experience survivor. And she's going to talk a little bit more about how that experience profoundly changed her from the inside out, as well as sharing her own spiritual gifts and insights to the world. So thank you all so very much for tuning in today. We appreciate it, and have a beautiful week ahead. We'll see you back here next time. Bye. You have been listening to Awakening the Gift with Psychic Medium Montana Greene, igniting a stream of consciousness within you. To find out more of what is needed to shift your consciousness above the ordinary, tune in to Transformation Talk Radio every second and fourth Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific. Each show we examine spirituality, mysticism, and metaphysics, along with the tools to help us achieve our life's missions. To connect with me, visit whisperingleafpsychic.com.